Please welcome to the stage founder and CEO of AppSelect, Stephen Cummins.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to be here on this stage today to take you through this morning in SaaS Monster. 60% of planet Earth lives in Asia. Asia dominated most of the last 2 millennia. And right now, in this moment, in this place, we are on the most important SaaS stage in Asia. So I'm delighted to take you through today. I'm going to introduce you to a ton of incredible SaaS monsters. And so I'm really looking forward to taking you through that. But before I do that, I'm going to take you through 12 incredible insights from 12 amazing founders in 14 Minutes of SaaS. It's a podcast I have, and I speak in person to some of the greatest SaaS founders in the world, mostly at events like this, including Web Summit and Collision and RISE. Okay. Welcome to 14 Minutes of SaaS, the show where you can listen to the stories and opinions of founders of the world's most remarkable SaaS scale-ups. Okay, so let's take it through. The first thing you're going to do when you're looking to build a SaaS company is you're looking for a problem to solve. And usually, if you work in an office, there's problems all around you. The world is broken. You just need to look around. So let's listen to Polina Montano, co-founder of Job Today. And let's hear what she did. She used to run a fleet of petrol stations.
I was actually working in retail myself. Running those businesses, I was actually faced with this very common challenge of how do you hire staff on a short notice? And that was the moment when actually this light bulb went on. Isn't it crazy what in the world of technology and innovation in which we live today, and when people looking for job, we still have to print out the resume and hit the streets, literally walking in restaurants and shops, bringing their resume in hand and asking if they're hiring. It just happens because all of those local jobs, they're just not available online. So they're hidden and job seekers can't find them. That's the pain which we wanted to solve. Just connect instantly over mobile interface people who are looking for staff and candidates who are looking for jobs.
So the great Polina Montano, co-founder of Job Today, was Polina's idea. They raised 81 million since 2015, came straight from a non-technical background, and they have 6 million users and 700 companies on their platform. So solve for real pain that you experience. Now, sometimes you might start a company because you respond to a push. Maybe you've got something that you're working on that is worthy of a product or of a company. Well, meet Chris Wysopal, CTO and co-founder of Veracode.
We don't do the kind of security tools that you're talking about, which ended up being the best thing that ever happened to my career. I had worked on all this stuff and I was going down a particular path, and they were like, we're not going to do that anymore. So this really forced me and my co-founder, Christian Ryu, to say, let's leave Symantec and let's start a company doing the things we want to do.
And they left Symantec and they built Veracode, a digital data security company, and they sold that for $950 million US this year. So follow your instincts. Now, before you get anywhere, if you have a good idea, the only thing that matters is product market fit. Okay? Forget all of your SaaS statistics and your growth machines. It doesn't matter a hoot until you get product market fit. So let's look at someone who likes to kill ideas quickly. He's the CEO, and co-founder of Segment, Peter Reinhardt.
The most important thing about a business in the earliest stages is finding product market fit. After product market fit, it becomes go-to-market and distribution, but prior to product market fit, nothing else matters. And I think it really requires actually skepticism. So the failure mode for most companies failing to find product market fit is that they drink their own Kool-Aid. They have a vision for the world, how the world should be, how it should operate, and they go build a product to try to make the world like that. But actually the world doesn't give a shit.
And what Peter did was, him and his co-founders, the two co-founders, they actually created they made up the product. They pretended they'd built it, and they put a link up and published an article on Hacker News. And they waited for the silence. Peter was sure there'd be silence, but some of the other co-founders weren't sure about that. And they had a massive response. When they saw the massive response, these 3 clever humans from MIT went and built the product from scratch in 5 days. And that's how they launched Segment. Founded in 2011, they've raised over $280 million, well north of $1 billion in valuation, well north of a unicorn. Okay, so what does a SaaS founder need occasionally? Because you're not employees, you're starting a company. So what do you need occasionally? You need urgency. So this is Mada Seghete, co-founder of Branch.
I'm an incredibly competitive person. When I was a kid, I think everyone makes up, I don't know if everyone, but people have imaginary friends. I had an imaginary competitor, someone when I was doing my homework. This imaginary competitor friend always did better than me.
So that imaginary childhood competitor pushed her along. She created that urgency internally to succeed in academia, and it pushed her from Romania all the way to success in Stanford, and she brought that to the startup world. When she went into startups, they failed quickly, with 3 companies in 2 years, and she just said to her co-founder who was about to leave, let's create urgency. She put a big poster up on the wall and said, look at this every day, lives remaining 0. Play the game as if it's your last life in a video game. Then you take risks differently. And what happened? Well, in 2014, she co-founded deep linking mobile growth company Branch, and they've raised over $214 million, another unicorn. Okay, so how about when it's time to pitch for finance or for big sales? Let's focus on pitching for investment, okay? So what can we say about that? Well, keep it brief. This is Russ Heddleston, CEO and co-founder of DocSend. Let's hear what he has to say.
But then we looked at decks that were successful in raising money and those that weren't. And the decks that failed to raise money were actually looked at longer on average than the success decks. And within the failure decks, the product pages were actually looked at way longer.
So they have vast data at their disposal, and they can see statistically the longer the VC spends reading your proposal, the less chance you're going to get investment. So keep it very clear, especially on the product part, and keep it very short and very sweet. Okay, so every now and then you're going to run into a brick wall. It's not smooth plain, it's not plain sailing all the time. So what do you need to do? Step away from the screen and clear your head. Give yourself space to innovate, especially in the early years, and to sort problems out. So meet Edith Harbaugh, CEO and co-founder at LaunchDarkly.
There's actually been a lot of studies that, like, when you're outside, your mind starts to make connections.
Okay.
Because you're not staring at a screen, you're not doing anything, but suddenly giving yourself time. I think us in the tech industry, you could spend all day at your computer and you think you're thinking and you're not.
Okay.
You're reacting.
So Edith is CEO and co-founder of LaunchDarkly. Launched in 2014, it's raised over $73 million. It's a feature management platform that serves over 100 billion features daily. Well, you got 100 billion neurons in your brain. You know, they're staggering numbers. And she gets her best ideas taking long runs, up to 100 miles, believe it or not. She's a long-distance runner, though she hasn't been doing it recently. By the way, I mentioned Peter Reinhardt from Segment. We'll be introducing another one of the co-founders from Segment this morning. So stick around if you're interested in Segment. Okay. Now, but is there really room for imagination when innovating, when everything is data-driven, it's all, lean startup and A/B testing? Well, I think Leonardo da Vinci would have thought there was room for innovation. How would he have fared with if everything was A/B tested from start to finish? Would he have turned into the individual he turned into? I don't think so. Okay, so let's see what Cameron Adams, Chief Product Officer and co-founder of Canva, has to say about this.
I know companies that pretty much make every decision from an A/B test, which doesn't allow for the leaps that you need to make in product development in order to to achieve something great or totally change a sector. But A/B tests do have their place, and when you're refining the product and tweaking it, and particularly when you're trying to hit a particular metric, a lot of SaaS is about looking at retention or activation or conversion. When you're looking at raw numbers like that, A/B testing does help to kind of get those incremental improvements that you need to make day to day, week to week.
And Cameron, of course, is co-founder of Canva, which a lot of you will have used. Have any of you used Canva before? Yeah, that's a lot of hands. Well, Canva is now a $2.5 billion graphic design platform, $2.5 billion. So he knows a little bit about innovation and making the right decisions. But he did say at the end there that testing is important, of course. A/B testing is crucial. So what do we have to say about testing? Well, let's meet Kolton Andrus, CEO and co-founder of Gremlin.
To take one of the chaos engineering principles and apply it to business, as we often do, there's this concept of the blast radius. We want to always run the smallest experiment that'll teach us something, and if it works well, scale it up. If it doesn't work well, you've learned your outcome. Well, the same thing applies in business, whether it's AI and machine learning, whether it's remote by default culture. There's a lot of things that you can experiment with, and if they go well, you can lean into them, and if they go poorly, you can walk away from them.
So Kolton is CEO and co-founder of Gremlin. It's a chaos engineering company that will break your systems to make them more resilient and stronger and ensure that there's more uptime. Founded in 2016, they've raised 27 million USD already. Moving on. Oh shit, what if I mess up? I put myself out there as a founder. What if I mess up? Or what if I make bad decisions along the way? What should I do? Well, never look back. At least never look back negatively. Don't walk around moping about what could have been, and just go forward. So let's listen to what the guy in the front, Garry Tan, the smaller guy, is about to say about this.
Here was Peter Thiel sitting across from me trying to convince me to quit my job at Microsoft. I was only a year out, and he said, "What are you doing? You're wasting your time there. Come join us. I'm so sure this is the right thing." And he got out his checkbook and he said, "How much a year do you make at Microsoft? I'll write you a check for that right now, and this will be literally a zero-risk opportunity for you." And I was 22 years old, didn't know anything about startups, about funding, about how any of this stuff worked. And I said, "Thank you very much, Mr. Thiel, but I might get promoted in my next annual review." And I got on a plane and went back to Redmond. I would have been, first engineer or co-founding engineer of Palantir, which would have been worth hundreds of millions at least.
So that's Garry Tan, and he moved on from that and became a very successful SaaS founder and a very, very successful investor. And he's now co-founder and managing partner of Initialized with his partner there. You might recognize him, Alexis Ohanian. He's the founder of Reddit, and he'll be cheering for his wife, Serena Williams, in Wimbledon today. He's there at the moment. But basically, the point is, you're going to make mistakes, and sometimes you might miss out on a lot of cash. Who knows? Move on. Don't mope about it. Very important. Okay, so the other thing is, don't forget to choose the path of least resistance. Yeah, we've got to leverage all of the resources around us. So let's hear what Whurley says about channel.
IBM has the blue channel. At IBM, I could write technology on a brick of crap, throw it through the blue channel, and I probably sold $4 million in technology shit bricks. And so when I got to this company and I thought, oh, it was so easy because I'd done all this success with IBM, I've done all these things, I very quickly, it was a very humbling experience, learned, well, you didn't really, right? I mean, there's the marketing of a big company like that, and the channel, and there's a sales force, and there's a this, and it's like, there's an ecosystem that you're a small part of a much larger ecosystem.
So he's building a layer between quantum computers, allowing coders to access computers stored below the temperature of outer space. And he sold his first two companies to Accenture and to Goldman Sachs. So we're down to the last two. In B2B SaaS, like no other model, you need trust and transparency. So let's listen to what Nicolas Dessaigne says about that.
Everyone has problems. Yeah. It's how you deal with them that's really going to make an impression. Sometimes when you have a problem, a bug, it's an occasion to shine. It's an occasion to show how much you care. And more often than not, customers are not going to leave, and they're actually going to become even happier after because they had an interaction, they know they can trust you.
And the last one is The most important startup is you. Look after yourselves.
And here's the great thing, it feels great. Sure. Everything in life gets better when you take better care of yourself. I mean, everything. We all have a duty and responsibility to ourselves, to our loved ones, and to society as a whole to improve that.
Okay, so thank you for listening.
If you enjoyed the podcast, please don't forget to share it with your network, subscribe to the series, and give the show a rating.